Right, we're going to do some more live coding. We're going to write a game, and I don't know where I encountered this game for the first time, but I thought it was a lot of fun. So let's have a look. It's called OffColour, and the description says, write a program OffColour.java that implements a game. The game draws equally sized squares on the screen, all of the same color except for one random square. So there are lots of little squares, and one of them has a different color. The user must click on the square with the different color and, if correct, progresses to the next level. On the first level, the game draws 4 squares. On the next level, the game draws 9 squares. So it's 2 by 2, 3 by 3 squares, then 4 by 4, 5 by 5, and so on. Also, as the levels advance, the difference in color should become less and less obvious. Okay, make the screen nice and big. 6 by 600 works well, so that the user can clearly see the squares. The majority color should be chosen randomly. To start with, choose the minority color randomly as well. Okay. Then, once your program is working, devise a way to make the minority color closer and closer to the majority. Okay, fine. To read a mouse click, use the following code. Alright, so there's some code we can use for reading mouse clicks. If the user clicks the wrong square, the program terminates. Print a short informative message to tell the user that they have made a mistake. Below are some screenshots. Okay, let's have a look at the screenshots. So that's level 1. There are 2 by 2 squares, all the same color except for one random square. Easy to spot. Level 2. 3 by 3 squares, 1 off color. 4 by 4, so I must click here. Ooh, 13 by 13. I think that square is slightly darker than the rest. Okay, fine. Anything else? No. Right, so this is the game we must write. And I think it's okay. I think I can do this. Let's have a go. First step is to create a Java project. Ooh, let me just bring this to the front. OffColour. That's what I'll call it. Finish. Don't want that. Link it to the standard lib.jar. Configure build path, libraries tab, class path if it exists, add jar. I want that one. Right, and let's create a class. New Java class. I'll also call this OffColour. And I'll add a main. Cool. Right. So we don't have much to go on, but it does say we should make a 600 by 600 canvas. So let's do that. Let's hit canvas size 600 by 600. Okay, so that's my canvas. And I'm going to leave the X and the Y coordinate system to go from 0 to 1. So that even if I resize my canvas, I don't have to change any of the other code. And then I have to play this game repeatedly. Draw the squares, user clicks, we check. Draw the squares. So I'm going to write a while loop. Well, if I spell while correctly, while. And I'll just put true here. Maybe I want to change this condition to something else later on, but for now I'm just going to keep true, and then each time I'm going to draw the blocks, read a mouse click, and check if correct. And then after the while loop, it's just going to go on forever, and unless the user makes a mistake, and then the while loop will stop. And then if that happens, I'm going to write a message that says, sorry, wrong block. So at the moment Eclipse is complaining about this. It says, unreachable code because it thinks that this line will never be reached because this while loop will just keep on forever. But we'll fix that when we check for if the user makes a mistake. Right, so let's implement these three comments. So for draw blocks, I am going to I wrote it like that because I'm just going to write a method of my own to draw the blocks, and I'll keep that separate. Draw blocks. There we go. So that'll draw the blocks for me. Reading a mouse click. Okay, let's do that. I'm going to copy the code from here, copy, to here, paste. Okay, there we go. And now I've got to check if that is the correct. So this will return two doubles, dx and dy, that are the coordinates from 1 to 0 of the mouse click. And now I've got to check if it's the correct wrong square. But I haven't chosen the wrong square yet, so maybe I should start each level by choosing a block that will be wrong. And math.random. But if the current level is, let's say, 5, I want to choose a block from 0 to 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. X coordinate for the block and a Y coordinate block from 0 to. So I'm going to multiply this by the level number. And I'm going to introduce a level that starts at 2. And level will go 3, 4, 5, 6 every time this while loop repeats. And here I choose a random X coordinate, a block in block coordinates, so to speak. And I'm going to do the same for Y. There we go. So here I choose the coordinates of the block that's going to be off color. Here, and this is in block coordinates, so to speak. So it's from 0 to 4, let's say. But these coordinates are in the real coordinate system from 0 to 1. So I've got to convert them to the blocks coordinate system. But I think that's not Dart, because here I had math.random from 0 to 1, and I converted it to the blocks coordinates, and I'm going to do the same thing for dx and dy. So I'm going to change this to an int, and I'm going to copy this formula in here, and instead of math.random, I'll put in the mouse click coordinate, and I'll do the same for dy. dy mouse y. Okay, right, this makes a lot of sense. So math.random can be 0 to 1. So I pick a random number on the real line, and I convert it to block coordinates by using this formula. And here I do the same for mouse x and mouse y, which are also 0 to 1. So I think that's fine. And so I can write here, if the mouse click is equal to the chosen block and the mouse y is equal to the chosen blocks, then the user clicked on the correct block. And I'm just going to increase the level. And the while loop will repeat, and it'll start drawing the next level. So that's good. And here, else, I'm going to break. So this break will break out of the while loop, and it'll go to the bottom here and print this message and stop. So I think that will work. Cool. Right, and now we need to write draw blocks. So let's see. But draw blocks needs to know how many blocks to draw, and it also needs to know the wrong block. So I've got to pass it the level and x and y. It needs a level to know how many blocks, and it needs X and Y to know which block is wrong. And then, how do I draw level by level blocks? I have two for loops, one that goes horizontally and one that goes vertically. And I need to draw the block at this coordinate. And yeah, cool. So it's going to be a square, because we're drawing squares the whole time. It's going to be filled, and the coordinate will be W, H, and R is the radius of the square. Well, let's make it 1 for now. See, there's an issue here because W and H are in the block coordinate level. They go from 0 to 4 if it's level 5. But I want them to go from 0 to 1. So I need to convert from W to from 0 to 4 to 1, so I'm going to divide by the level. Let's just think about this for a while before we go crazy. In the block coordinate system, there's blocks. There's coordinate 0. That's the left-hand side of the screen. Let's put a line here. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is the right-hand side of the screen. But now I want this to be 0. That'll be 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, and 1. So if I divide W by level, which is 5, just for this example, I keep on using 5, but it's nice to think about. Then 5 divided by 5 is 1, 4 divided by 5 is 0.8, 3 divided by 5 is 0.6, 0.4, okay, good. So this formula will give me the WH coordinates, but on the 0 to 1 scale. But I've got to be careful because the first coordinates of a square must be the middle of the square. So I must use a W that's here. So I'm going to add 0.5 to W. And I'm going to add 0.5 to H. So W will go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But the real coordinate I want to convert is the one in the middle. So it will be 0.5, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. W is an integer, but when I add this 0.5, it turns into a double. When I divide by level, it's still a double. And I store that in W, double W. Okay, fine. I think this is good. And we haven't used X and Y yet, and we haven't chosen a color. So I am going to choose a random color. And the easiest way to do that, I think, is to use that color class that we saw before. I'll have a C1, and let's just import java.awt.color, and I'll have a C2. The right color and the wrong color. And the right color, I'm gonna pick a float. 3 floats for R, G, and B. Yes. Math.random, G and B, and here I'll say new color R, G, and B. Oh, math.random sends back a double, doesn't it? Okay, but fine, I'll cast it to a float. Okay, so I'm picking a double random number from 0 to 1, making it a float and storing that in R and in G and in B. And I can use that to for this color, and I'll do the same thing here, and I'll just pick red for now. So the wrong square is always red. Okay, fine, good. And there should be HH. And lastly, how wide should the square be? So if you look at filled square definition, it actually wants the half width of the square. So the full width is 1 in the blocks coordinate system. Half a width is 0.5. And to convert from the block coordinate system to the screen coordinate system, I have to divide by level. Okay. Oh, and I've got to set the color. Okay, right. So how do we set the color? If W is the wrong block's x coordinate and H is the wrong block's y coordinate, then I'm dealing with the wrong block, the off-color block. So then I'm going to say standard draw dot set pen color to be the wrong color. That's C2. That's the red. And otherwise, I'm going to set it to the right color, which is C1. I think this is all I need. I'll keep this here to remind me of how to convert from block coordinates to screen coordinates. And remember, this 5 is just an example. It'll start off as 2, and then next time draw blocks is called, we should draw 3 and 4. Okay, right, let's run this and see what it does. Excellent. Oh, see, the blocks are right next to each other, so you can't clearly see that there are blocks, but I think this is 2 by 2 blocks, and this is the random square that was picked, and the random color for the majority was brown, and red is the minority. So I've got to fix that. I don't want those blocks right up to each other, so I'm going to reduce this size, and the easiest way I think is just to say 0.45. I'm making it smaller, so yes, there we go. Right, this is a good example. So if I click on the wrong block, it should terminate. Yes, it does. It says sorry, wrong block. But this drawing screen doesn't go away. But there's a way to fix that. Let's do that now. So I should, here I should say, there is a command in standard draw that says close. That just close the window and makes it go away. And I also forgot that I need to show this. After each time I draw the blocks, I need to show the current screen. Completely forgot about that. Well, it worked now, so who knows. Run it again. Okay, here we go. Pick the wrong block, it goes away, and the program terminates off, and it prints this message. But let's pick the right block and see how far we can go. Okay, right. So now I'm playing for real. This is the wrong block. Oh. It draws the new blocks, but it just puts it on top of the others. That's the wrong block. See, so that's not right. So draw blocks should start by clearing the screen. Now what I can do is I can draw a big white rectangle over the whole screen. But I happen to know that there is a command that's something like clear. Yes, clear the screen. And I'm going to use white. Let's see what that does. Okay, good. Random color. This is my wrong block. Ooh, this is very close, but I can see this one is a little brighter. Easy, 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 easy. Okay, right, so this works. I'll just click on the wrong one. Okay, the only thing that's left is to not use red every time, but use something that's close to, but not exactly C1. So what I'm going to do is, after I create C1, I'm going to change R, G, and B just a little bit. If level is small, I want to be able to change it a lot. So let's say if level is 2, or 3, or 4, or 5. 3, or 4, or 5. The level is going bigger, but I want the amount to change the color by to grow smaller, so I'm going to invert that. That'll be 0.5. I think this is easiest. Four is 0.25. 5 is 0.20. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract or add. I'm going to subtract. What I want to do is I want to say if it's 0.5, the inverted level, then I either want to subtract something. I'm going to add a random number in this range to that. And if it's here, I want roughly 16. I want to add a number in this range. 1 to 5 to, okay, right. Okay, right. So I've got to calculate this range here, the minimum and the maximum. So let's see. The minimum is 1 over level multiplied by 0.5. So I can really put it in front. 0.5 negative. Okay, right. And the maximum is the same thing but positive. Okay, that min and max are now these lower and upper bounds. And then I'm going to change R by adding a random number from min to max. So I know how to do that. I use math.random times max minus min plus min. So this little formula, it's now complaining because math.random is a double. The whole thing is a double. So I'll just change that to a float. So math.random is 1 to 0. I multiplied by the size of this range, basically by 0.5, 0.33, and then I add the max, which is this negative number. Okay, right, so I'm happy with this. G and B. You may have to sit down and calculate the mathematics for that. And the final issue is that I may have chosen a random number that makes R or G or B negative or more than 1, and they mustn't be, so I've got to clamp them down. So I'm just going to write the code. If R is less than 0, R is 0. I know this is ugly to write like this, but for now I'm okay to do it. Should we write ugly code? I don't like it. I don't like it. Isn't there? Oh, there must be a mathematical way of doing this. Let's delete this. I don't like ugly code. R should be the maximum of 0 and R. So if R is negative, then 0 will be greater than R. So for negative R, this will set R back to 0. And I'm also going to do this, I'm going to add a 1. There we go. So this is how we clamp R between. In fact, it may be easier to see if I just change it around. The max and the min. This will clamp R from 0 to 1. Okay, that's much nicer. GB. And then instead of just using red, I'm going to use what I used before with the new RGB. And I'll keep that comment. It doesn't hurt anyone. Okay, so this is turning out to be quite a routine, but it does a lot of stuff. It clears the screen, picks a random color that's correct, does a lot of work to change that color slightly, and then it draws the blocks. Okay, fine. So let's run, see if it worked. Aha! So this is the random color, dark green, and this is slightly lighter. Look, it's working really well. It's this one. It's this one. I think it's this one. Yes, I was right. I have no idea. Wrong. Okay, but I think that's fine.